Beers and Gears Garage. The Carl Murphy project is rolling along here. The next goal is to get ourselves down to the engine so we can start pulling the engine apart. We got a bit of work to do before we can do that. We don't have a big crowd in the garage tonight. We got some tedious work to do in some tight quarters. So we do have Vinny, as usual, producing the episodes from behind the camera. And the Wookiee is here himself, Mr. Chewy. So he's here, he don't realise it, but he's here to do all the heavy lifting. So what we're going to do is the oil tank has got to go, because that's got to go to the painter. In order for that to happen properly, the battery and everything has got to come out, which is on the other side of the bike here. You can see it's behind these pretty chrome cases. That's where the battery is. If you go around the other side, of course, the pipes. The goal is to get the pipes off tonight, and that's a little bit of a tangle, but we'll get them off. And this is our air cleaner, and in behind the air cleaner is our carburetor and our intake manifold. So hopefully by the end of this episode, we'll be down to almost a beer engine, so we can get working on that. So let's get rolling. Myself and Chewy just wrestled the pipes off of this bike. We never really had to wrestle them, I tell you. So on each cylinder head there's two studs. And those studs have gone through these flanges and they're held on my nuts. You can see right here the rear head studs. Same thing on the front. The bottom one on the front is always the most difficult one to get on and off. And whoever put these pipes on didn't want to spend too much time at it, because the nut just spun right off of my fingers. The other thing we noticed was these pipes got a set of brackets. You can see the brackets here, and these brackets are used to bolt the pipes onto the bike so everything is nice and snug, because Harley Davidson shake a lot, and if you don't have it all snug in, you could lose parts going down the road, and that's true. There was no bolts in those brackets, so it's a good thing we got it off. It'll be going back together the right way the next time, but here we are. Let's soldier on. So the next major task was to get the oil tank off, because that's got to go to paint with the rest of the tins. It's a little bit tangly of a job to get it off. You got to get the battery out, you got to get the battery tray out, you got to disconnect a bunch of hoses, you got to wiggle it around and take out a bunch of bolts. But there's the Wookiee like a proud papa with his oil tank. That's ready to go to the body man. So let's keep marching on here. Alright, so the carburetor on a Harley Davidson is basically just wedged into a little rubber boot. And the rubber boot then goes into what's called the intake manifold, which directs the air and fuel mixture into your cylinders. So to get the carburetor off, you just got to give it a gentle wiggle and pull it out. You're going to have to be careful, because you got all your throttle cables and everything hooked up. There's a few little hoses and stuff there. But if I just give this a gentle little pry there. So there you can see there's your rubber boot that your carburetor goes into. There's your manifold, which we're going to have to get off when we start digging into the engine. And here's the carburetor. So I should be able to just disconnect a couple of hoses. I'm going to get a little hanger I'm going to hang the carburetor over here somewhere out of the way so it's nice and safe, and we'll go from there. I may have to replace the jets in this carburetor, but that'll be well down the road, because remember, we're going to bump this from an 883 to a 1295, so she's going to be thirsty. So, but that's something we'll get into later. Taking off here now is the ignition coil. However, doctored this up to start with. Decided to make it all fit and hold it together with a handy dandy hose clamp. It probably won't be going back together with a hose clamp. That much I can tell you. There you go, Chewy. But if you come around the back here, you can see this is one of your plug wires, spark plug wires, and this is the other one. So this is your ignition coil, and this is where it gets power and ground, and this is what controls the spark to your engine to fire the spark plugs to get it to run. So usually they're mounted over on the other side, up in the middle of the bike somewhere, not necessarily in this location. We'll figure out where we're going to put it when we put her back together, but I can promise you we won't hold it together with a hose clamp. Concludes this episode of Beers and Gears. We've accomplished everything that we needed to accomplish. We got the oil tank out, we got the carburetor off, we got the pipes off, and the next episode is going to start getting, shall we say, detailed. This is your intake manifold. This is the next thing we got to do, is get the intake manifold off. Not a big deal. 4 bolts there. This here is your top pan and your cylinder head, and then we're replacing the jugs, and the pistons are inside the jugs. So on the next episode, we've got enough room here now that we can start peeling these parts off, and we'll do the engine rebuild next. And once the engine is rebuilt, we'll start getting the front end off, because the front end has got to be rebuilt, and then we're going to send a lot of parts out for powder coating. And of course we got to change the bars, and we got a real long way to go, but once we get this engine rebuilt, then it's into what I consider to be stage 2, which is rebuilding it. So the Carl Murphy project is coming along, and we're making progress. Before we go, I want to say that we had the Carl Murphy Grab Your Balls for Cancer this past weekend. Watch for the one next year, because we're going to do an annual event. But we were able to give $6,128 to a local family who needed to travel for cancer treatment in Carl's name, and we're going to keep that going. And next year's event for 2024, you will see this bike at the event, spotlight on it, and it should be a fun time. So for now, that's it. Thank you to the Wookie for the helping hand tonight. Thanks, producer Vinny. And for now, that's it. Beers and Gears.